Hello everyone, we welcome you to Glass Academy Webinars 2023. The theme for this year is Art and Science of Designing Responsibly. Today we have with us architect Shyamala Prabhu. Architect Shyamala is an alumnus of Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda. She has more than 2.5 decades of experience running her own firm called Akriti Architects and Designers in Bangalore. Her projects have been mainly high-end bungalows, penthouses, corporate offices, and showrooms. She has been a part of the managing committee of Institute of Indian Interior Designers IIIT for over 2 decades and was the chairperson of IIIT Bangalore Region Chapter for 2 years. She was a member of the National Executive Committee for the term 2019 to 21. She has also initiated a company called Triyantraka, a platform to bring designers and artisans to work together to sustain craft. Her design mantra is to keep a contemporary minimalistic look. According to her, handmade craft should be a part of our living space. Fusion never goes out of fashion. When one deals with function with clarity, form takes shape. She is of the opinion that an honest design has a lasting appeal. Welcome, Architect Shyamala. We are delighted to have you here with us today, and we are looking forward to your presentation. Let's hear from you on the topic, revisiting sustainable living while creating mindful spaces. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Anvita. And first of all, let me start by thanking Saint Gobain Glass Academy. Truly honored to be part of this initiative. And yes, I mean, the topic itself, revisiting sustainable living while creating mindful spaces, the first thought which came to my mind was that these buzzwords which are created these days, or one tends to use it a bit more often. Actually, if you go back just a generation or two, it was actually a way of life. At least in the Indian subcontinent, I think we were living a sustainable lifestyle. So if you look at the Indian way of sustainable living is so deeply rooted in our country's traditional practices and values. Here are some very easy and practical ways for us to embrace the sustainable living, which is so inspired by the Indian culture. I just read, I think, was it yesterday or the day before in the newspaper, that Bangalore city has apparently is the one of the top cities in Karnataka, where they call it the RRR rating: reduce, recycle, and reuse. So if we just recall a bit, wasn't that a part of our living? I mean, less was more for us. There was always reuse about everything. In fact, there's often a joke that, and they kind of relegated it to the middle class, and they said that, how a towel was used as a towel, and then it became a mop, and then it be, but one could laugh at it. But actually, the sentiment behind it is that you are not discarding something that can be reused, and that today we have realized has such a huge impact to the environment when we get into this space of constantly discarding and overusing things. And when I say overusing, it starts from something very small, but then we have gone into that space where we are actually damaging our planet. So reduce, reuse, and recycle is the mantra. I think if we embrace, then we kind of avoid all these excessive packaging, reusable bags, repurpose items whenever possible instead of discarding them. So that's the mantra. If we follow, I think it's just it's a first it starts as a thought and then it becomes a habit. Then I think now, at least I've seen in the city, that more and more people are growing their own food, which is, I think, is a good beginning. Probably it started with all the fertilizers and stuff like that, which people have been using to increase the, produce, and therefore harming people. So Right now, at least all those who are into conscious living are ensuring that they grow their own vegetables. So when I give an example like this, there is the other flip side to it is, as an architect, we also have taken one step and trying to reuse the debris from the building, you know. So each thought, each mindful thought which starts from your home into your simple activity can have a huge macro level impact.
Yes.
So these are some of the points which I thought of when we said about revisiting mindful living. So like the focus good old days used to be on impact, rather than being busy and trying to do 100 different things, and dive into, like they say that you should pick up at least one small hobby, just one small mindful hobby to learn every single day can lead to huge, I won't use the word repercussion, but it would land you up in a situation where you are not harming the environment. Simple things like shutting the tap and not overusing the water. You know, turn off your phone, practice mindfulness, connect to your community. Commit to a purpose. Know that faster is not always better. Consume less, like I said, and learn to say no. So we have to learn to say no. Learn to say no to plastic. Learn to say no to packaged food. Learn to say no to all the harmful pesticides. Know how you spend your time. Nowadays spending time has become about doing digital scrolling all the time. So we need to take a one step back. I don't know, it could be reading, painting, art, gardening, it could be anything. So how to spend your time is an important learning that one needs to apply one's mind. Keep your expectations low. That's something so huge, because if you notice that we are our patience is wearing off, and we want everything at the click of a button. So if you keep your expectation low, then you start accepting things and waiting for anything to for any kind of mindful existence. You got to wait. Speed is always not right. Build small but consistent habits. As I was saying, one has to stay inspired, and nowadays there is no dearth. There is enough inspiring material which is going around. And find yourself a like-minded community. Now we have noticed that in our urban scenario, one finds it very difficult to get into that space. So again, out there, when I say mindful living, you have to, as designers, we constantly work with our clients to ensure that their home is their sanctuary. So you have to make your home your sanctuary. Create your own little green oasis. If you are a working professional and you're out all day, when you come back, tune out. Tune out. Just listen to music, or you can just listen to some waterfall, or anything which can calm you. And if you're out of the house and in the city, that there are enough quiet spots in the city. Mindfulness is something that one needs to practice. Even simple thing like having a meal. If you notice, these days most of the time we are trying to watch TV while eating, or we are talking on the phone while eating. So you don't even know what you have eaten. So it's only when you're mindful about what you're doing and the way you're eating, then everything else falls in place as from where this food has come, what kind of carbon footprints has it created, and then therefore it assimilates well. Isn't health the most important? ignoring small annoyances, say no more often, get to know your surroundings, forget about multitasking, take a real lunch break. How many of us take a real lunch break? It's always that we are running and, chomping into a roll or sandwich. Getting outside of a built space is also so important. And finding a moment for guided meditation, that's should be a must. And of course, last but not the least, getting creative. Creativity actually calms your mind. Anything, you could create anything. You could create a piece of art, you could create a piece of pottery, you could create, in our field, since it's second nature for us. So while creating, you automatically get into a meditative state. When I say, finding a little oasis of your own, these are some of the spaces which I have designed. So if you see, it's not to find your little green oasis, you don't need to always be on the ground level. So if you see on the top 3 pictures are, these are little terrace gardens which we have created. So you can create your own green environment. Now, on the extreme right is again a project where we have pulled out the building, we pulled out that glass and made it a part of garden. So even when you're inside, you are still part of the outside. See, there's not much difference in one is on the left side picture, you're on the ground, and on the right, you're on a terrace. So similar spaces can be created. It doesn't matter which level and where you are in. Now, these are some of the urban spaces, but you have to find your own little corner over here. Like if it's a bedroom, you can have a little hammock, where you can look out, you can sit, you can read. When there are large spaces, people have their own little interesting corners to sit. If it's a bedroom again. So a lot of light, a lot of ventilation, and connecting with the outside. Now creating Zen-like spaces. That is like so important in an already cluttered life. Simplicity, Simplicity is, embrace minimalism and keep the space clutter-free. Remove unnecessary items and focus on the essential elements. Choose furniture, decor, and colors that are simple and unobtrusive. Natural elements. Incorporate natural materials such as wood, stone, and plants. These elements evoke a sense of grounding and connection with nature. Use natural light whenever possible and consider incorporating elements like a small indoor fountain or a bonsai tree. Balance and harmony. Seek a balanced arrangement of objects and furniture. Use the principle of Feng Shui to create flow and balance in the space. Arrange furniture in a way that encourages openness and easy movement. Neutral colors. Neutral colors opt for a soothing color palette with neutral tones such as whites, beiges, grays, and earthy shades. These colors create a serene atmosphere and promote a sense of calmness. Mindful design. Pay attention to the layout and functionality of the space. Ensure that it supports relaxation and reflection. Consider incorporating elements like a meditation cushion or a comfortable reading nook. Decluttering, eliminating excess belongings, and keep only that what is necessary. Clutter can create distraction and disrupt the sense of tranquility. Organize belongings neatly and create designated storage spaces to maintain a clean and uncluttered environment. Soft lighting. Utilize soft diffuse lighting instead of harsh bright lights. Consider using natural light during the day and warm, soft lighting in the evenings. Candles or soft LED lights can add a calming ambience. Tranquil sounds, incorporating soothing sounds like running water, wind chimes, or soft instrumental music. These sounds can help create a peaceful and relaxing atmosphere, masking any obtrusive noise. Mindfulness and meditation space. Dedicate a specific area for mindfulness practices such as meditation, yoga, or deep breathing exercises. This area should be free from distractions and designed to inspire calmness and focus. Personalization. Infuse the space with personal touch that bring you joy and peace. Display meaningful artwork, photographs, or items that evoke positive emotions and reflections. Remember that creating a Zen-like space is a personal endeavor, and it should reflect your own preferences and needs. The goal is to create an environment that supports mindfulness, tranquility, and a sense of well-being. These are some of the Zen-like spaces which uh, we have created and which have been very well appreciated by some of the clients. You can see that, there is a very thin line between the inside and the outside. How effectively we have used glass to, ensure this. And luckily for us, we live in a place like Bangalore where the weather permits us to use glass as a very strong medium to connect with nature. Now here, I would like to talk about uh, this project. The Artisan Village project came about, I think during COVID, we realized the kind of situation the craftsmen got themselves into, because everything had come to a standstill, and they were definitely in dire need of funds. So of course, we became a part of an endeavor called Hand for Handmade, and we tried to that time, because that was the need of the hour, help them with some monetary kind of funding. But eventually we realized that something long lasting and something very concrete needed to be done. So me, along with two other architects, we formed Triyantrika. This is a platform where we brought in the design community and the artisans together, so they could come about and create their craft in a probably more contemporary kind of for a contemporary environment. So there is a better market for it, and they also get to learn something new. So one of the foundation called the Atmantram Foundation got in touch with us, and fortunately they had this piece of land, about 4 acres, in a district called Hangala district, which is which is closer to Mysore. So they realized that there were these tribals who lived there, who needed somehow to be brought into the mainstream. They needed to be educated. We needed to help them hone their craft and teach them something new. And we, as a design fraternity, felt that there was a lot of cross learning which was needed. The students of design in a city environment had a lot to learn, and there's a lot to learn even for the children from the rural environment. So that's how the thought for the artisan village came about. So we kind of figured out all these various spaces. It is the Foundation is hoping to run this place based on the Gurukula system. So the gurus will come and they will teach these children. But what we realized is there has to be a lot of interaction. Now, if you notice that for the rural children, living a sustainable life comes very easily. And for the urban children, adapting to technology comes very easy. So we felt that bringing them together, creating various workshops, each one could learn from the other. So that's the thought process, and that's how the artisan village, the process and the thought process to design an artisan village came about. It's a project in process, because of course, we realized that we had to create jobs for them. We had to first train them, then create jobs for them, then also teach them various kind of vocational, like it could be beekeeping, or it could, there's a lot of lantana work which happens over there. But what they need to be trained with is the finesse, and get them to open their mind to use that product in more ways than what they are used to right now. And then that whole place has such amazing forest area. So training them to be naturalist was the most obvious kind of a choice, because they understand the flora and fauna and the complete trail. And then I think when the city dwellers go there, they could educate them, and it could also be like a vocation for them. Could be part of their job, which they could be paid, and survive for their survival. So then there is, of course, we have there are lots of other vocations that they're going to be taught, like terracotta and lamps and jewelry and candle making, also performing arts. So so all these spaces needed to be created, and we thought that we should create these spaces with what they are familiar with. So we are going to use a lot of bamboo there, a lot of clay. Of course, for lack of funds, initially we were also thinking of repurposing some of the containers, the discarded containers. We thought at least for starters, we could use those as livable spaces, but ensure that they become part of the environment. So somehow bring about the greenery. It needs a lot of rainwater harvesting out there. So we thought we'll create a lot of water bodies and ponds, and also make it very sustainable. So a lot of animals will be like cattle will be reared, so that they can be self-sufficient. We will ensure that they use a lot of solar power. So the whole working system of this artisan village is going to be only sustainable. So we have envisaged some forms for this village. We are also trying to bring in many other designers who have won awards and working on various kind of materials. There are architects who have kind of worked on just clay, on mud, and we are trying to reuse, a lot of debris from the city. A lot of buildings get torn down, so we want to get that debris and use all the soil which is here. Additives, blocks will be made. So it's going to be a very, very interesting project. And I think once it's completed, we will figure if we can have another presentation to actually show everybody how we managed to do it. So heritage is something which we have to be kind of very proud of, and especially in the urban scenario, we felt that we need to give them something to aspire for. So, preservation of cultural heritage buildings often have significant historical, architectural, and cultural value. Restoring them ensures that future generation can appreciate and learn from the past, fostering a sense of cultural identity and continuity. Architectural and aesthetic value, heritage buildings carry so much of that. They exhibit exquisite craftsmanship, unique architectural styles, and intricate detail. Restoration helps maintain the original beauty and character, and these structures, they enhance the overall aesthetic appeal of the surrounding area and contributing to a sense of place. Of course, there is a lot of economic benefits. Heritage buildings can serve as tourist attractions, drawing visitors and boosting local economies. They often become landmarks that generate revenue through tourism, hospitality, and related businesses. Restoring and repurposing these buildings can revitalize neighborhood and stimulate economic growth. So, one of the main buildings, if I go back to the layout plan, master plan, is the heritage building. So what we decided to do was, there are, in the coastal belt, there are a lot of beautiful heritage homes. And these houses, because I think the people who live there have shifted out of the country, and frankly, they are not interested in the building anymore. And what they're interested is in selling the land. So a lot of like-minded people like us have done this previously, and we have also started this initiative where we have bought this house so that it does not end up as debris. We are reconstructing this, restoring it to its original glory at the Artisan Village. That will be their main exhibition area. And this amazing intricate carving, the craftsmanship is amazing. So we ourselves are learning so many aspects of construction from this entire exercise. So there is a complete system of how to do it. So as you can see, they've all been numbered, and then you bring them back, and then you kind of again reconnect and rebuild the whole thing. So this is what we have designed, because we obviously had to create different spaces and create usable space, so that, but most of the elements are from the heritage house. So this is the artist's impression of this place. And of course, I think the entire heritage house has been made ready, and it will go in. It will be installed very soon at the site. So as you can see, every person who is inclined to lead a healthy, wholesome life finds a unique way to do so. As designers, we think. Of space and material palette when we think in terms of healthy living. Today, more and more people have realized the value of slow living, mindful living, and sustainable living as living responsibility. Design plays a significant role in shaping the environments we inhabit. There is an opportunity to create space that promote physical well-being. One example being biophilic design, which incorporates elements and natural elements into the built environment. Creating Zen-like spaces involves cultivation and environment that promotes tranquility, mindfulness, and a sense of harmony. Restoring heritage buildings for posterity helps in preserving our culture, craftsmanship, and sustainability. By repurposing the spaces and components, we save raw material and hence strengthen community cohesion, pride, and social capital. Conservation of craftsmanship and traditional skills, preserving artistic elements and techniques which can eventually be passed on to the next generation. In conclusion, design has a profound impact on our health and well-being, whether through biophilic or ergonomic products, digital interfaces, or addressing societal health challenges. Design experience has the potential to significantly enhance our quality of life. By integrating principles of health and well-being into the design process, designers can create environments and products that not only serve their functional purpose, but also contribute to an overall happiness and vitality. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for showing us through your projects. Your presentation was truly insightful and highlighted the significant role and responsibility of designers in creating mindful spaces that improve the quality of life for all. I'm sure the webinar undoubtedly enriched our viewers on understanding the importance of revisiting sustainable living while creating mindful spaces, and have a lot of learnings to take away today, and are also very curious to know more about your presentation. So I would like to take this opportunity to ask you a few questions, ma'am.
Sure, sure.
So, in a fast changing world, how can we design spaces that are adaptable and flexible to accommodate changing needs and lifestyles? Can you please give us an example on this for our audience to understand?
Well, if you just look back not very far, the COVID situation is a good example of how spaces were converted to adapt to the immediate needs of many a household. You know, people had to create an office space for them to work. Children needed to have classroom environment, and as family, they needed to have a common place where they could get together and engage in activity. Depending on the size of the house each one lived, spaces were created. In the larger context, since hospitals and medical facility was the need of the hour, a lot of spaces were converted into hospitals. Hence, it is not difficult to repurpose space in times of need. However, creating multi-use space is definitely the need of the hour. So to give a small example, in a home environment, often a library or an office and office space is designed in a way that it can be converted into a bedroom should the need arise. In the similar way, if there is a family room and you want to convert it into a proper like a home theater or a TV room, all it needs probably is some kind of a voice barrier which you can bring about with sliding partition glass or whatever. So I think most spaces, if designed well, can adapt to whatever use that it needs to be put into.
Definitely. So, the terms well being and sustainable living are often used, but not completely understood by the design community. According to you, what are some common misconceptions people have about sustainable living in mindful spaces?
See, a well-ventilated room with plenty of light, as for me, is a good space. Okay, so but how you're going to use that space mindfully, mindful usage of that space gives it that character. So often when we use like natural material like stone, wood, clay, fabric, textiles, which are all natural material, one tends to believe that you're doing your bit, but when you say sustainable, when you have to be careful about building carbon footprints while procuring this material, is what is the key. So are you aware of the environmental repercussion these so-called natural materials are going to cause? These are some of the basic thought one needs to bear in mind when you create a material palette for a building. Look for local materials. They always say about 5 to 10 kilometers of where you're designing, you should be able to find your local material to either build or for your consumption. So these are the basic questions one has to address, so we are very happy getting marble from Italy and, all those things. But have you realized what is the harm that we are causing? I mean, even marble is a natural stone, so it is a natural product. But are you living in that environment? Is that product really needed for that project? So that's where I think the designers need to exercise their discretion.
Totally agree, ma'am. Yes. The next question is your project, The Artisans Village, showcases the importance of responsible design intervention. The conscious decisions you made not only help solve a local problem, but also addresses the gap between the urban and rural while creating a platform for cross learning opportunities. So, what are some of the challenges you faced while designing a project of this scale and intent?
See, to begin with, as you can see, the Artisan Village project is a social project. And interestingly, it has attracted many designers and socially active communities and individuals to come together to help make this dream come true. It's the need of the hour. For me, it's a social commitment. And I'm ready to take help from whoever is inclined to offer his or her service, as it's a pro bono project. The It started with, like I said, with an idea of connecting the urban dweller to his rural counterpart. They both need to learn from each other. For one, sustainable living is a way of life, and for the other, adapting to technology and making it work for him to lead a comfortable life. One has to make use of technology since it's available, and not if it improves and optimizes day-to-day living, and yet to find the middle path of ensuring that you will not destroy that one planet which you are living in. In an ongoing project, designing is not the challenge. Yes, executing it will be, because it will need funds first to construct it and eventually to create an environment so that it will exist on a sustainable platform.
Definitely. And this brings us to our last question, ma'am. We are constantly surrounded by architectural spaces, and buildings and structures are an integral part of our daily lives. How do we as designers create those pause points for people to stop and reconnect with themselves on a regular basis?
Okay, see, I think Winston Churchill once said, "We shape our buildings and our buildings shape us." So those are the wise words. A space should develop a sense of direction and orientation for seamless flow, thus improving the usability of space. Developing arrival, pause points, patios, plazas to lanes and pathways before arriving into the building allows the user to orient himself and his surroundings. A good example could be the MG Road Boulevard. So, before you come, there is, the user has an experiential walk, where he can stop by and glance at some art or listen to some music, and so he kind of gets slowly oriented to get into the building. And of course, then there is a there is a purpose for why he's there, and then the building takes over. So health and well-being are crucial aspects, right, of our lives that can greatly impact our overall happiness and productivity. When considering design in relation to health and well-being, there are numerous innovative approaches that can be explored in this. We will discuss the the intersection of design and health. So if you notice that these days, for example, the malls, so it is not limited to only having the shops, for retail therapy. So every mall has got a plaza, it has a fountain, it has seating space. So this is how I think this is what appeals to people, and that's how the builders are catering to it. So in good old days, it was the urban planning. So there were lots of parks which were introduced in various layouts for people to, pause. But now I think the parks are shrinking and the malls are springing, at least in the urban environment. So they have been consciously trying to bring in these pause points.
Absolutely, ma'am. Very well said. And that was very informative and insightful, ma'am. So, on behalf of all of us at Glass Academy and Ethos, I'd like to thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.